Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our service at Northwest Barrie United Church. It is Sunday, September the 5th, and so glad you joined us, or can join us, and we made it to September. So I thought I'd just begin with this little quote. By all these lovely tokens, September days are here, with summer's best of weather and autumn's best of cheer. Or if you prefer, welcome to the season of all things pumpkin spice. So as always, we like to begin with our celebrations for the week. And I only have one, but it's a real doozy. We have a brand new member of our congregation here at Northwest. I'm going to put her picture up for you to see. And this is Carmela. And Carmela was born to Jessica Boss. And she was born on August the 20th at 9:01 a.m., weighing a very healthy 7 pounds. So she's definitely a cutie. So congrats to Jessica and to John. And if you are celebrating or have celebrated this past week, I hope you had a good celebration. Really only one announcement, and it's just to confirm again what I announced last week, that we are starting in-person worship services. And our first one will be on Sunday, September the 19th. And again, just the same as we had before when we opened, just a maximum of 45. We ask people to wear masks and sign up ahead of time. So that ability to sign up for the 19th will be available next week. So hope you might consider joining us, and we're really excited to be open again. And as I mentioned last week, for those who aren't able to come or who are further away, we will be live streaming it for you to continue to watch on YouTube. Let's begin now with our call to worship. And I came across this call to worship recently by a man named Gregory Grace. And I like animals. I'm sure you like animals, and I thought this was kind of creative, so let me share his words. From all things that breathe, you may learn the wonders of God's love. From swallows, you may learn the ecstasy of God's love. From dolphins, you may learn the playfulness of God's love. From bulldogs, you may learn the tenacity of God's love. From beavers, you may learn the resourcefulness of God's love. From whales, you may learn the immensity of God's love. From coyotes, you may learn the solitude of God's love. From brothers, sisters, parents, friends, you may learn the nearness of God's love. With all things that breathe and live, let us worship God as we celebrate the gift of life. Our opening hymn this week is Like a Mighty River Flowing. I hope you'll sing along at home. Please join me now in our opening prayer, and let us pray. God, as we gather on this Labor Day Sunday, we gather with gratitude for what this season of summer has brought to our lives, for long, hot days, for get-togethers with family and friends, for all the beauty that not even the gypsy moths could take away, for moments of peaceful reflection, for the connections with others that ease loneliness and plant joy. For all these things, we give you thanks. And as we look ahead into a new season, may we have a spirit of anticipation as the world slowly starts to come to life again after so many months of challenges. May we look forward to better days. And in these changing times, may we see change not as something to fear, but as a welcome friend, preparing to lead us into a new season of our lives. Kindle within us faith, courage, hope, and a spirit of wonder as we welcome September with an open heart and spirit. And be present to us in worship today, guiding us to places of gratitude and grace. Amen. Our special music today is a song called Rain, and it's going to be sung by Rachel and Lori and accompanied by Amanda. Please enjoy. Thank you to Rachel and Lori and Amanda. Again, this is when we would normally have offering in our service, so I'd like to once again say thank you for your ongoing support and gifts to our church. You know, one of the things that your support does is allow us to keep up our building and our facility, and we did have one new addition into our church, into our building this week. We have a new door that's being put in. It goes up, for those of you who go to Northwest Barrie, up the stairs from the lobby, and it's a door going into the observation room. So we put it in there so that we can now lock that room when we're not there because it has all our live streaming equipment. So I'd like to say thank you to Jim Ross for installing that door with the help of Daniel Johnson. It may seem like a small thing, but all of these things, again, help to keep our church going, and your gifts help us to make those things happen. So as a prayer of gratitude, let me offer these words. Gracious God, we thank you for the gifts that have been received. May they, like seeds planted in the soil of faith, bring a harvest of goodness and love. Amen. For the Bible reading today, I'd like to share a passage that I've certainly shared many times before, and it's a passage that I'm sure you're familiar with. And even if you're not a churchgoer, maybe you recognize these words from that 1960s song by the Byrds, Turn, Turn, Turn. So I'm reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to harvest what is planted, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to keep silent, and a time to speak, a time for war, and a time for peace. I have seen the business that God has given for us to be busy with. God has made everything beautiful for its time. Also, God has put eternity into our minds. I know that there is nothing better for us than that we should eat and drink and enjoy our lives for as long as we have them. For whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. Amen. Let us pray. And now may the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O God, our strength and our light. Amen. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Such familiar lines of the Bible that point to one of life's greatest truths. Everything changes. Everything has its season. Everything has its time. You know, I've always thought there are no truer words written in the Bible than these words from Ecclesiastes. Life is an ever-changing experience. And every mystic, every philosopher, every leader, every spiritual teacher through the generations have held up the reality of change and usually make the point that our satisfaction or dissatisfaction in life comes from our ability to handle change. Socrates, way back, said this: the secret to change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. John F. Kennedy said, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past will certainly miss the future. And a woman named Octavia Butler perhaps said it best. She said this: all that you touch, you change, and all that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. And those are just three of what are thousands and thousands of wise words from those who have journeyed before us, pointing us towards the reality of change. But really, we don't need anybody else to tell us about change because we know what it's all about. And if you haven't gone through significant changes in your life, well, maybe you're not quite doing it right. Because Kennedy is right. Change is the law of life. And do we like it? Some do. But a lot are quite happy for things to stay the way that they are. Henry Ford once famously said, if I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said, don't change anything. Do you like change? Do you handle it well? Or do you like the status quo and wish that things would never change? A husband one day watched his wife looking longingly into a mirror. She looked rather sad and despondent. He wanted to cheer her up, so he knew that her birthday was coming. So he asked her what she wanted for her birthday. And she sighed and she says, "I want to be 6 again." So the man gets this great idea. He's going to give her a birthday she'll never forget, a birthday made for a 6-year-old. So began on her birthday by giving her pancakes in bed. Then they go to the amusement park for the morning and go on all kinds of rides. In the afternoon, they go to the movie theater and they watch Snow White. And then they go to McDonald's for dinner and have a happy meal. And they finally end the day by swinging on the swings in the park. They get home, fall onto the couch completely exhausted. Finally, he turns to his wife and he said, "So, do you like being 6 again?" She looked at him and she said, "I meant size 6. See, this is when we need people in the church, because I'm convinced that that's actually a pretty funny joke, so I hope maybe you're laughing. You know, I don't mind admitting that change doesn't always come easily to me. And the older I get, the less I like it. I'm a creature of habit like so many of us. I like what is predictable. I like to think that when I get up in the morning, life's going to be pretty much the same when I go to bed later that night. The uncertainty of change has always been a bit of an ill-fitting suit for me. I'll put up with it, but it doesn't always feel comfortable. I think that's why Labor Day has always been a difficult or anxiety-producing weekend for me. This weekend always symbolized change, even more so than New Year's Day. Maybe that's because for a huge chunk of my life, like it has been for a huge chunk of your life, Labor Day was about saying goodbye to the relaxed days of summer and heading off to school to embrace all the uncertainty that comes along with that. Who would my teacher be? Would I make friends? Would I fit in? Would I be happy? And even though those days are now far behind me, I can still get a knot in my stomach on the Monday of the Labor Day weekend. Fall seems to bring more change than any other season. How are you with change? Anyway, I thought today, given that it is Labor Day weekend, and some watching may be going back to school as students or maybe as teachers or administrators, maybe you're going back to work, maybe you're starting something new, or maybe you're just anticipating changes ahead as we hopefully begin to move a little bit outside of COVID. So I thought I would talk about dealing with change. And if you're going through a change in your life right now, or maybe anticipating a change, I hope you will find some wisdom in what I'm about to share. And if you aren't, rest assured, you will be. So maybe store it away in a drawer in your mind and you can come back to it later on. What I want to share with you for a few moments today are not my thoughts. They're the thoughts of somebody far wiser than I. And they come from an article in Harvard Review that I read recently about dealing with change. They really spoke to me, so I thought maybe they would speak to some people out there as well. So let me share with you a few points that this writer made about dealing with change. I'm going to put them up on the screen so that you can hopefully remember them, because I think that they're really good. Firstly, don't let stress you out. When you think of the word change, what do you think of? Stress. Changes in life are stressful. We all know what stress feels like. It's not pleasant. It causes changes in every part of us, in our physical bodies, in our minds, in our emotions. When we feel stressed, the muscles in our bodies tighten up, our minds race, and we can be very emotional. And what do we usually say? I can't take it anymore. Stress is the body's reaction to situations that we fear or that we can't control. And to feel stressed out is not a nice way to feel. We think of stress generally as a bad thing. But if it were simply a bad thing, evolution would have disposed of it millennia ago. The reality is, we need stress. That's why we experience it. Stress is a wake-up call to get our attention. And with a proper perspective, stress can actually be a very positive thing in life. In a book called The Upside of Stress by Kelly McGonigal, the author suggests that stress isn't what hurts us in life. What hurts us in life is our reaction to it. If we think stress is going to kill us, it will. But if we think of stress as something that's trying to carry us over a big obstacle or through a challenging situation, it can help us to get there. And here's what she suggests. When you start to feel stressed in a changing time, think of it as a well-meaning friend coming to help you. Then ask yourself, what is this stress trying to help you to accomplish or to prepare you for? She says there are 4 things that stress can help us to accomplish. And they're easy to remember because they all start with the letter E. First, it can help us to excel at an important task. Like the stress we feel before a presentation or a big interview, it kind of gets us prepared for that. Secondly, it can help us to endure through difficult times. Thirdly, stress can help us to empathize with others who are going through difficult times. And fourthly, stress might be telling us that we need to exit a toxic situation that is hurting us. The 4 E's of the upside of stress: excel, endure, empathize, or exit. So when you feel stressed in the face of change, think of it not as something that's trying to hurt you, but something that's trying to help you to negotiate or navigate your way through what you are facing. Don't let stress you out. Secondly, focus on your values instead of on your fears. I love this point. Again, change is destabilizing. If you go through a change like going to a new school or a new job, moving house, starting a relationship, ending a relationship, whatever it may be, we can tend to focus on the fearful side of that change. The change can overtake our entire lives, and we feel like everything is changing. But the reality is, that's not true. Not everything is changing. For example, just because change is happening around us doesn't mean that change has to happen within us. Someone I know just made a huge change in his life. He just moved houses to a different community. That's a massive change. And I know how overwhelmed he felt, how fearful he felt about what was ahead, and I think I would too. But instead of focusing on the fear, what if he focused on values? His location has changed, but think of what hasn't changed. His family, his friends, his convictions, his love of art, his outgoing personality, his faith. You know, a few years ago, 2 researchers named David Sherman and Jeffrey Choan did an amazing series of studies that spanned over a decade. They studied people who had gone through life-changing events like starting a new job or ending a relationship or losing a spouse, any number of big changes. And what they asked people to do who were going through these changes was to spend 10 minutes a day writing about a value that they have and how they've lived that value out in their life. Simple as that. For example, write about a time that you shared love with someone, or that you helped someone, or that you were generous. They found that simply reflecting on your values for 10 minutes a day helped people to rise above the fear of change. And it showed them that change does not mean they have to compromise their personal identity. Put your values ahead of your fears. Thirdly, another great point. Accept the past, but fight for the future. Or to put it another way, even if we can't change the things that change us, we always have the ability on how to respond to them. You know, to me, one of the greatest historical examples of this point was Viktor Frankl. He was the doctor who survived Auschwitz and went on to write a best-selling book, Man's Search for Meaning. Everyone should read that book, by the way. He was a living example of resiliency. After returning home from his ordeal, he discovered that his mother, his brother, his wife had all lost their lives. Everything in his life had changed. All that he loved was lost. But Frankl decided that even though he'd lost his past, he wasn't going to sacrifice his future. True, he could never go back to the life he once had, but he was still free, he figured, to meet new friends, to find new love, to work with new patients, to enjoy music and read books and have adventures. He called hope in the face of despair. He called it tragic optimism. Tragic optimism. When change comes, we have to let go of some things, including the past. It doesn't mean we have to sacrifice the future. We don't have to give in to the worry or the bitterness or the despair, but keep fighting for what can still come. And finally, number 4, don't fall victim to the good old days mentality. In the late 1970s, a researcher at the University of Chicago named Salvatore Maddi began studying employees at the Illinois Bell Telephone Company. The phone company had been deregulated and had to undergo a lot of changes. They discovered that some of the managers of the company had trouble coping, but some were thriving. They wanted to know why. What was the difference? It turned out to be very simple. Those who were thriving understood change as just part of the cycle of life. They didn't blame it out on people out to get them or evil politicians. They didn't say God hates them. They accepted it and kept focused on what was important, and that was managing that time of change. On the other hand, those who were struggling clung to what he referred to as the good old days mentality, a belief that everything used to be rosy. They couldn't stop talking about all the reasons why fate had handed them this bad deal. They spent their time blaming those who had got them in this position, or they spent their energy trying to bounce back to a past that no longer existed. We can miss the past when things change. We can be nostalgic for what was. We can lose ourselves in our memories from time to time. But the reality is, if we get stuck in that good old days mentality, we can risk on missing out on what could be good days to come. So let me review. According to this study, how do we cope with change? Don't stress about stressing out. Focus on values instead of fear. Accept the past, but fight for the future. And avoid the good old days mentality. I hope maybe you found some wisdom as I did in those points. But let me just come back around to our scripture reading. Because as wise as those thoughts were, and they are, you can't beat that biblical wisdom. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. We live in a seasonal world, especially in a northern country like Canada. And we know that a season is only temporary, and then it will pass. Some seasons we may wish were a little longer, some a little shorter. But we know they are nomadic. They come and they go. We may get frustrated when winter hangs on into April, or when the leaves drop too quickly in fall, denying us their beauty. But we don't stress about the seasons because we know they are temporary. We know they come back around. If you don't like snow, just hunker down by a fire for a few weeks and wait. If you don't like humidity, hunker down by an air conditioner for a few weeks and wait, because it will pass. Could you imagine if the seasons weren't like that? Could you imagine if we didn't know from one year to the next if winter would be 3 months or 2 years? Then we would have stress. But that's not the way the world was created. It was created to unravel itself year after year in seasons. Each season bringing with it something unique. Each season lasting only for a season. And then the next one comes along bringing its own gifts. Maybe the real key in dealing with change is taking this seasonal approach to our inner lives. To everything, there is a season. Change, therefore, doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming or fearful, but rather it's life offering up a new season. And sure, we may miss the old season. And sure, we might grieve what was. But then in time, the new season will offer up its own unique gifts. As the cycle of birth and death, decline and renewal continues to play out in our lives. And even if we don't like the season that we're in right now, that's okay. It's a season. Hunker down and wait. The cycle will play itself out, and something good will come around again. That's the nature of hope, built into the very fabric of creation. Life is lived in circles. One closes, and the next one opens, as each season brings something new, something to enrich us, something to challenge us, something to offer us peace. There was a man who had 4 sons, and I'm going to end with this story. There was a man who had 4 sons. He wanted his sons to learn not to judge things too quickly. So he sent them each on a quest to go and look at a pear tree that was a great distance away. The first son went in the winter, the second in the spring, the third in the summer, and the youngest son in the fall. When they'd all gone and come back, he called them together to describe what they had seen. The first son said the tree was ugly, bent, and twisted. The second son said, no, it was covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son disagreed. He said it was laden with blossoms and that smelled so sweet and looked so beautiful. It was the most graceful thing he'd ever seen. The last son disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. The man then explained to his sons that they were all right, because they'd each seen but one season of the tree's life. He told them that you cannot judge a tree or a person or a situation by only one season, but try to see in all the potential of every season. If you give up when it's winter, you will miss the promise of your spring, the beauty of your summer, the fulfillment of your fall. Try to see life in all of its seasons. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. And isn't it true? As much as we may long for things to stay the same, into all of our lives must come change. Change can be an enemy, if we think of it that way. Come to frighten us, unsettle us, and upset us. Or we can think of it coming to us as a friend, to reveal to us, to reawaken us, and to renew us. We get to decide. Amen. And now I'm going to offer our closing prayer, and then we'll sing, as we always do, the Lord's Prayer. Let us pray. God, in this month of change, we have an opportunity to consider what change means to each of us. We've all been through so many changes these past few months. And we have proven that we can adapt, that we can be resilient, and that we can be courageous in the face of what is new. Some of us have had changes within this time of change. Life has shifted, sometimes expectedly and sometimes suddenly. Help us in changing times, whatever they may be, to carry our faith forward, which invites us to think of change as seasonal, invites us to see within change times for possibility, or the possibility for growth and opportunity, to deepen our experience of life and to find our determination and perseverance. But most especially, to find within changing moments times of peace and reflection, where we can know that even in uncertain times, our spirits rest in you. We pray for all those going through changes or anticipating change in the coming months. And now as we think about change, we think about what or who we are praying for today. And in this moment of silence, we lift our prayers to you. God of all seasons, of fall and winter, spring and summer, may we go forward now committed to seeing life in each other in all of our seasons, letting the Spirit move within us, that even in winter times we may trust in the promise of spring. And hear us now as we continue to pray, singing together the words of the Lord's Prayer. Well, thank you for joining us today. Just before I have the benediction, I'd just like to say all the best to all the kids that are out there going back to school, and the teachers and custodians and administrators and all those who are charged with helping our kids in this new season that they're going to be entering. I hope it's a great year ahead. And listen now for the closing words of benediction. May God open our eyes to the vibrancy of life around us. May God renew hope within us, reawaken dreams of what is good and right and just. And may the well-being and gentle peace of God be in our hearts in all that we do. Go in peace. Amen.